get it done. The president making it clear in a tweet when it comes to tax cuts, anything that he wants to get done, and Republicans to get done even sooner. The Senate switched to a simple 51 votes for anything, for everything. Ashley Pratte, we've got Erin McPike, Wendy, Osefo. All right, Wendy, what do you think of that? 51, call it a day. Done. Boom. Fast. Get it done.
Well, it's kind of interesting because this is nothing new. This is something that the Dems did in 2013, and this is something that the GOP has done as recently as April. However, it shows some sense of naivete from the president because he doesn't necessarily need to enact this because right now he has the numbers needed to be able to move the votes forward, right? And then on top of that, Mitch McConnell even said in April that he's completely against this. He does not want to move this way. So I'm just a little bit curious as to where the president's tweet is stemming from.
I was a little confused as well.
Yeah.
Erin, the way things now work under a budget reconciliation is all it takes is a simple majority. So almost all the things that the president wants to do, that Republicans want to do, including the health care rework, including the tax cuts, simple majority will do. So what do you think the message was here? Or did he want to fast forward an agenda that might include other things for which he wants just 51 votes and get it done?
Neil, most of all, I think it was a reaction to Mitch McConnell saying last week that there should be less drama coming out of the White House. And of course, Mitch McConnell has also...
Did you just open up a rift here?
Look, I think Mitch McConnell has also been very clear that it's going to be hard to get tax reform done, and he doesn't actually have the votes to do what it is that the White House wants to do. They also don't have the votes on health care right now. So I do think it is a back and forth between Mitch McConnell and the president right now that we're starting to see.
Wow. Actually, what do you think of that? Because, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time between those of the same party are at each other's, throats. I mean, Jimmy Carter famously did not get along with Tip O'Neill. And this is the kind of stuff they played against one another. What do you think?
I think Republicans are having the Nancy Pelosi moment, right? We got to pass it to see what's in it. And I think they're afraid of that. And I think at this point, there's a lot of discord within the Republican Party as to what works when it comes to tax reform and when it comes to health care. So Trump tweeting out this morning, tax cuts, that's all fine and well, but Republicans want tax reform. So I think here we have to think about a bigger and broader picture. And that's where there's a real disconnect with Republicans in both the House and the Senate and with the White House. So interesting moving forward because everybody wants the same thing. They're just going about it in very different ways. And Republicans tend to air their dirty laundry out in front of everybody, whereas Democrats do not. And that's where you got the Nancy Pelosi moment of we've got to pass it to see what's in it. But Republicans instead, I think by trying to rush things, are going to end up regretting it later because we're not going to get everything we want in it. But we also need to recognize that and think, do we want tax cuts over tax reform, and do we want to repeal and replace Obamacare, or do we want to come up with something completely different? And I think that's where the struggle is right now.
Yeah.
And Neil, if I can add to that, remember, you and I were talking back in March that the White House was getting ready to put out its own tax reform plan.
Yes,
Where is that plan? It is almost June, and it's the House and the Senate that are working on tax reform plans, but the White House has still not put out a plan because they're being bogged down by
the White House.
Now you've unearthed a little battle behind the scene going on here, but I don't disagree with that, and I think that the ways of Washington, represented by the power structure there, I'm not condemning it. This president, I think, Wendy, to Erin's point, essentially said, enough. I'm going, nuts here with it.
Absolutely, and I think that he needs to start having conversations with members of his own party and trying to move things forward because right now we're getting bogged down
don't make the assumption he's not doing that. It's just maybe all this other stuff is.
Well, I would say it is the other stuff, but he's still the president of the United States, and if he wants to start having these conversations, it is within his power and within his purview to do that. And I think the American people deserve that.
Get Mitch McConnell and say, hey, shut up.
Neil, I think one of the biggest issues here is the fact that the White House at this point in time doesn't really have anything legislatively successful under their belt. And I think that's where we're feeling this rub and tension right now with the House and the Senate, who feel as though they can stall things until they get what they want. But the White House is anxious to combat this media narrative right now, which is that they are accomplishing nothing other than executive orders and then all of this stuff with Russia. So I think right now they're really looking for legislative success.
Yeah, this could distract from all the other stuff. They get a big legislative win on any of these developments, game over, or at least nasty game delayed. Ladies, thank you all very, very much.